This is a lot. This is a lot to put on the internet, but it is what it is. Um, so some months back, I decided to leave my church home. I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't think I have because I was still, going through the motions, trying to feel things out, figure things out, and all that good stuff. Um, but a year prior to me, actually 2 years, so 2021 is when I felt like I definitely knew that it was time for me to move forward and move on from my home church. Um, and when the pandemic started, I definitely felt that pull, but I was like, I don't want to leave off of emotion. And plus, there was so much going on with, the virus and, people getting sick and not going out and having gatherings. So I was just cool with like having that break from the whole routine of church, the routine of preparing myself throughout the week for worship, or in worship throughout the week. Not that I stopped doing that, but like I felt like when it was time for the Sabbath to come, um, that I should definitely hear more from God. And so I tried to make it a point, and this definitely happened in waves and flows and all that. But I definitely got more serious with my spiritual intake and also output throughout the week. And another reason why is because I used to sing on the praise and worship team. So I definitely was like, okay, no, I can't just be coming up here ministering and all, my whole week has been thrown off. I haven't really spent time with God because it shows. I feel like it definitely shows when you have someone, even in a leadership, any type of leadership capacity, ministering for God's people in a service. You can definitely see like kind of like their struggles or troubles, or if they really have a strong relationship with God. Like there are definitely some people who are natural entertainers and performers and have a talent and a gift to sing and to minister. At the same time, if the anointing is not flowing, and it may not be for me as far as being touched and changed through worship, it may be for someone else that day. Like if that's not happening, I start to question, what your walk is like on a consistent basis. Okay, I'm not saying that you have to walk this journey with Jesus perfectly, because trust me, I ain't been perfect. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I'm still making mistakes. Let me put that out there. But yes, we get real today. But so basically, I started my journey over to really commit to a life where I was more consistent in my worship, my spiritual journey. And so back to what I was saying, I felt definitely the tug that I needed to move and do something else. But then it's like, okay, because of my denomination and how I am a Seventh-day Sabbath keeper, like, okay, how's that gonna look? What new place is God leading me to? And I had very conflicting views, very conflicting opinions. There was a lot of like hurt that went into this because, my church home is definitely a family church. Um, there's a lot of like just grief behind the whole process to even start the process. Like it was a lot, and I don't know if y'all feel me and you've been through this whole thing. Like let me know. But it's just like it was a whole process because all in all, I wanted to be in the best place that God was leading me to so I can do more for his kingdom and his people, to be used and to really operate in the gifts and the abilities that he wants me to operate in while I'm still here. And so that was like my main focus, but I felt like, but how? And it's like, okay, I don't want to try to figure it out, Lord. Let me continue to pray and to fast and to, get in your word and really continue to do things that interest me and also things that I feel like you're leading me to. And it was a whole process in addition to me going through, my divorce and the whole process of the initial stages of trying to really figure out like the whole thing, and figure out how, because I'm not trying to go in. The reason why I just said it like that, because I'm not trying to go into that. I'm trying to stay on topic. But yeah, let me just keep focused and keep talking about what I'm trying to talk about. But there was a lot going on. A lot of decisions were being made and things were happening, okay? So fast forward when I decided to separate, I felt that God was like leading me to explore other churches and to navigate like this pool, this call, if you will, to really get more information about what God wants me to do and how he wants me to operate in the gifts and abilities that he's calling me to do. And I'm just like, well, God, like, okay, I know about this church and that church. I don't necessarily want to leave the Sabbath, like the 7-day Sabbath, but like, let me know. Like, lead me, guide me, Lord, to the place, the people that you want me to connect with. Like, that's eventually how the prayer, how the prayer evolved into, me like actually wanting to like seek more of like, okay, where am I going? Like, what you want me to do, God? And so I went back and forth, partially because, like I said, my church home is a family church. It's, like straight up family. Okay. And it's just like, I have that helping, like mindset. Like, I want to help. I want to be of use. I want to help things grow and be better. Like, I just don't want to just walk out type of thing. But then it was just like that pool was getting even stronger. And there were different things that were happening that I was like, okay, why am I getting so frustrated? But my walk and my call as far as how God wanted me to align changed. It wasn't about, oh, let me do this because the 7th-day Sabbath is right and I want to be, where I started because this is my family and, we want to be a part of this thing so we can continue to keep the legacy going type of like. My mindset changed because I was like, there's certain things that God has placed in me and is directing me to that I'm not able to get from my church home. I'm not able to get from here right now. And I had to eventually be okay with, okay, God is leading me. I feel like he's leading me to get what I need to grow and develop more in the gifts that he's calling me to be in. From somewhere else, and it's okay. It's okay. And if God leads me back to my church home, then so be it. I'm open to it. I'm not shutting the door. I'm definitely here to support when I can, but it was clear eventually, like, that it was time to go. It was time to go. And I wrestled for a minute. Like, I still was like, no, God, I still want to help. I see this thing, I see different things going on and I want to help and really, really get into making things better. But it was draining me. It was draining me. And I was just like, okay, I can't keep ignoring this God. And it was like, he kept telling me, over and over again, like, it's time for you to go. I have somewhere else for you. It's time for you to go. Trust me and go. And so eventually, I put in my notice to leave. And we're not going to get into all that, but there are definitely people that were upset. Definitely people that were questioning my decision, for not just for myself, but for my family. And that's the thing, like, it was easier. I think it would have been easier if I was still married to make this shift, because they automatically been like, oh, we can't question it because, if the head of house, your leader in your family, your husband is leading you all, or wherever he decides, for y'all to go. Like, I understand, I'm not gonna question it, but because now I am divorced and making decisions for my family, what I feel is best, and partnering with God to make these decisions, now, certain people are questioning my decisions. And I'm just like, my natural side was like, who do you think you talking to? Like, you don't know how many hours, days, and years that I've been praying, fasting, and seeking counsel on this issue. Like, so don't come at me like that. Like, who are you to tell me? So it's just like, wow. I really saw people's true colors. I really saw more of people's true opinions and feelings about me. But I'm not even going to continue to go into that, because I know what God is calling me to do. I know what God was telling me to do. I delayed it for several months, for a whole year, matter of fact, because, I wanted to really make things, help to make things better. So that's neither here nor there, because I done already left, and it's like I had to go through that process, for good reason. Because like I said, it's definitely a family church. But, once I made the decision, I'm not going to lie, I did take a break. I took me a break. I was tired, okay? I was doing more virtual church, okay? Because basically, okay, so let me say this. He told me to leave, but it wasn't clear as to where. He definitely dropped, a few places in my spirit to seek out. But I still was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, God, and I definitely know there were certain people who were, who are in my life that were definitely a good sounding board, and, definitely have great wisdom and advice. They're definitely encouraging me to seek out those options, because basically they were like, sometimes, God's going to put those things in your spirit, your heart, and it's up to you to go get what he's leading you to. He's not always going to be like, okay, here's the clear picture. After you leave, you're going to get connected with this church, and you're going to join on this day, or you're going to get connected with this church. You're going to be there for a few months, and then you're going to go to... He's not going to lay it all out, and it's like, I know that, but I guess because I was treating this situation like, like employment, where I started to seek out other employment before I actually left. Like, and we can go into all that, but there have been times where I did not have anything lined up and just left because I knew it was time for me to go. But in this traditional sense, usually people have something lined up and they put in their 2 weeks. And I was treating this, situation like that. And, it didn't happen that way. He definitely dropped a few places in my spirit to seek out before I actually left. And then it was just like, there were certain people who were like, okay, so where are you about to go? Where are you about to go? What other 7 Day Sabbath church you about to attend to? Because there's not many that are better. Like, they weren't saying in those words, but it was like, they're like, yeah, there's not many that are better. Like, they all got issues, or they all got stuff that they working on. So, you know, what you about to come in that's better than this? And I'm just like, dang, like, that energy though, like, I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Get thee behind me. Um, it's like, come on, like, worry about yourself. Okay. So, I dealt with that, and I'm just like, wait a minute, like, they're not gonna understand anyway. Like, this is what I had to and those of you who are watching that know me in real life and that, you know, may think I'm talking about you, I probably am, but I'm not saying your names, okay? I gotta keep it real. This is my experience, and if you're a part of my experience, then take it for what it is. But anyway, God is in control. Okay, he gets the final say. So I dealt with that, and I'm just like, wait a minute. Like, if I even tell them like the two places that I feel like he's leading me to check out, they're gonna have something to say. Like, whatever. Like, even if I say I'm leaving for 6 months, they're gonna have something to say. If I say I'm leaving for good, they're gonna have something to say. If I say I'm leaving and going to this place, they're gonna have something to say. If I say, like, so I had to recognize it for what it was. They was gonna have something to say regardless, okay? And I'm just like, this is what God gave to me. This is what I prayed and fasted and felt God was saying to me. And the only way for me to figure out how he's leading me is to go do and get connected to where God is leading me, okay? And I don't need to explain that. And that's what it came down to, like, because he wasn't clear when I left. And I was like, God, you know me, okay? I know me. I overanalyze things to the nth degree. And he knows that I probably would have talked myself out of the whole thing. Hence why it took me forever to even leave in the first place. But I think that's why he set it up like that, where he wasn't definitive on, you are going to this place. Because he knew what was coming as far as the questioning and the backlash. And also me feeling like, oh, like, I'm not sure. I'm still kind of grieving this whole decision while I'm like in the process of doing it. And, you know, I feel like that was his protection, honestly, protecting me from not seeking him and listening to him and how he was leading me. Because worst case scenario, I knew I could always come back. Like, if this wasn't God, you know. But I was like, no, he confirmed it so many times, like, that I needed to go. And that's literally what he told me. He's like, you need to go. And then the week before, I think it was the week before or 2 weeks before, or 2 weeks after I put my notice, because it was like an in-between week. It wasn't quite like the start of the week. It wasn't a Sunday. So I didn't put my notice in. It was like probably a Friday, you know. So I had like 16 days, you know, until I was leaving. And it wasn't until like that time, that's when God put the two options in my heart. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to keep this to myself, because I don't remember quite what the issue was and why we didn't connect with them in the past. But I felt like there was some type of story behind the whole situation. But yeah, so I'm going to have to cut the whole other part out. But But yeah, I just wanted to let you all know, like, that's what I've been going through, the whole process of leaving my church home and finding another church home. So I did attend the first church that God put in my spirit to go to. And it was like, as soon as I went, I was like, okay, God, like, I see you and I feel you. And there's a whole story behind that. Maybe we'll get into it. But the girls and I went, and it was important for me to bring them so they can get the feel, because we talked about it. We've been talking the whole time about before I left, our church home, and then after, like, okay, this is what mommy's doing. A couple times I know my oldest was like, okay, when we gonna go to church now? Like, you've been taking a break for a minute. We've been watching virtual church for a minute, like, what we doing? And so it was important for them to be a part of the experience, and what's important to them. I talked to them, asked them questions like, what do you like in a church? Like, what's important to you? All that good stuff. And we talked about it. And so I got good reviews from them. And I liked the whole organization of the people running the church. And there's more to learn. I can't say that I necessarily, know this is where I need to go. I also did visit another church, and I felt initially like, oh yeah, this is it. Eventually, like, this would be it. But there was always something that was kind of like, I don't know. Like, not that there's anything wrong with them or they were doing some scandalous stuff. It was more so like, okay, does this align with the goals that I have, or the gifts that I'm wanting to develop more in? Does this align with, me and where I am right now? And so I take some time, like when I would go visit, I take some time to really see God and to ask him, and then to listen. Because before, I wasn't really listening. Like, I was asking, it was just like, girl, you ain't listening. So yeah. So they actually had the church that, the first church that I visited that I really like so far, they had a conference the other week. And I was just like, God, it was like so many things were confirmed, and so many things, like, I felt like God was like, see, this is why I wanted you to come over here, off the cuff, like, from the beginning, because, like, this is where, like, there were so many things that they were doing and speaking on that align with where I want to grow and develop more spiritually, and the gifts that I feel like God has called me to operate in. I was like, oh my gosh, like, you mean they've been doing this for over 10 years, almost 20 years, and this is my first time hearing about it? Wow. And that was the other thing, like, my first time going to the church, like, the pastor was very, very friendly. He made an effort. Like, he was just like, oh no, like, you a guest. Yeah, he went above and beyond. He wasn't just satisfied with, like, hey, how are you? God bless you, giving me a hug and, the kids. No, he's like, I want to meet you. I want to meet you and your family. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to talk to you, get to know you, and offer you some encouragement, And so, I know someone that goes to that church, so they definitely cued me in, like, oh, he want to talk to you after service, like, I'm like, oh boy. But even in that interaction, I was just like, wow, like, he don't know me, and he's speaking things over me, and I'm just like, this is my first time meeting him. How you know that? It's only God. It was only God revealing these things to him. And then he told me about the conference. He was like, yeah, you should come to the conference, if you're able to. Like, he wasn't like, they weren't calling me, saying like, hey, you're going to join today, or when are you coming back? They weren't hassling me. It was just like, wow, like, wow, they really are, like, doing things over here that matter, that are really help. Like, they're doing things that really help people grow spiritually. Like, they're not just saying, come to Bible study and that's it. Like, they're like, no, like, there's levels to this. Your growth is not just relegated to one avenue. They're like, nah. Or, we got these different fellowships here. No, like, we're investing. Like, that's the part that I enjoyed about the whole conference. Like, you can tell that they took time, and they use a good amount of resources into this whole conference. They're like, no, we're investing in our people to grow. We don't want them to, even if they felt like, oh, I'm just going to do praise and worship. No, you're going to learn. You're going to learn more about just that and see if there's another gift that you want to explore and to use to not just stay. And there were so many things. I probably have to do a separate debrief, okay? But the pastor kept saying, like, these are tools. Like, I know that all y'all don't go to our church, but even if you did, these are tools, these are nuggets, these are teachings that you can use to apply to your own life first, to grow you from the inside out, but to also use and to grow within your own separate ministry or, out there outside of the four walls. And I'm just like, see, we need more people, talking about these things and acknowledging, like, no, like, this is for you. This is for you to grow. Like, I want you to grow. Like, I'm not afraid for you to grow, okay? I'm not afraid for you to want bigger and better for yourself or, for your ministry one day, And it's just like, wow. But there were so many great things. And I literally, the first day of the conference, like, my mouth was gaping, all the way gaped open. Because I was just like, yeah, we had teachings on this in the past, and we had different like services to really talk about these things, but we didn't even scratch the surface on how it was more about, okay, this is the introduction to these type of things. But this conference went way deeper. Like, this is the introduction, this is the body, and this is how you can apply it and activate it. Activate these things in your life. And I'm just like, yo. So when I say my mouth was gaping, it was all the way gaped. And I was like, I don't even care, because my mind is blown away. Okay? But it was a great experience. I only attended the first 2 days. It was 3 days. The third day was really more about the Sabbath service. But I was able to attend the sessions on the first and second day, and I'm so glad, because it was literally a last minute decision, and I was like, you know what, and I kept tugging, like, back and forth, like, oh, maybe I'll go next year. And I did mention it to, like, one of my mentors, and they were like, you should go, and I was like, you know what, yeah, I'll just go. I have to do what I have to do. It was a drive. It was a hike to get out there. But I was like, you know what? After I drop these kids off, I'm going to do what I need to do. And I did what I needed to do. Okay? And I'm so grateful that I did. I'm so grateful. So stay tuned for more conversation around my transition to finding a new church home. Also, my transition into really getting into what I feel like God has called me to do. Stay tuned, because I don't know if I'm going to share all that. But yeah, I'm so grateful that God led me to not only move, but to, move towards this church so far. I see a lot of great things, so I'll keep you posted. Until then, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.